My name's Nate Kaeding. I am playing a dual role this evening as both panelist and esteemed moderator, so it's great to see everybody. Happy 150th birthday to Coralville. There's a lot of familiar faces out there. We were talking before with some folks that we'll make sure we fact check everything, and we'll hold some of the other stories for maybe off camera afterwards. But we're excited to be here. As Stacy said, we all born and raised here. We're native Coralvillians, and what you have before you tonight are 4 guys forged in the hot fires of the mean streets of Coralville in the 80s and 90s, back in the days when off Interstate 80 were truck stops and strip clubs instead of Lululemon and Trader Joe's. So it was a hard knock life back then in the 80s and 90s. But we're gonna have some fun tonight, just kind of going a little stroll down memory lane, and all of us now are back in the Coralville, Iowa City area with business interests here. So we're going to talk a bit about our childhood and growing up in Coralville, and a bit about what we're doing now and the business of Coralville, and even a little bit about the future and what we're trying to build here in the Coralville, Iowa City area. So to start, we're going to start down at the end with Mr. Kinseth, but we've got Ben Kinseth here with Kinseth Hospitalities, Matt Swift with Big Grove Brewery and 30 Hop and several other restaurants in the area, and Sean Pearl with Sustainable Landscape Solutions. We all, like I said, grew up, we're all probably just 40, 41, 42 years old, depending upon where birthdays landed. And we got Mr. O'Leary back here. He's our old elementary school principal at Coralville Central, which is awesome to see him. And all grew up together, like I said, and doing businesses now. So we'll start down with Ben and have him, first of all, tell us where you grew up in Coralville, and then give us a quick bio of what you're doing now with Kinseth Hospitalities. We'll just go right down the line, and then we'll get into some other questions.
So many memories. Growing up in Coralville, I really was thinking about, I've lived in a lot of different parts of Coralville. When I was first born, we really lived in one of our first hotels, the Best Western Westfield Inn, in a little apartment that me and my father and mother lived in, and my father ran the hotel. So we lived in a hotel to start with, so that's kind of where it started. And then we lived, I really grew up on Lindcrest Drive. That's where, after we moved out of the hotel, we moved into that area and kind of grew up in and around there, and that was kind of maybe the new Coralville at that point, new subdivision. And then we eventually moved over to the new Coralville, Auburn Hills, later in my junior high and high school years. So that's kind of how I was just thinking about all the different stories and timeline. I got the opportunity to live in a lot of different parts of Coralville growing up. So that was the main question.
Now today, so tell us a little bit about Kinseth Hospitalities and just some bio of your business.
Yeah, so growing up in the hotel business, we lived in a hotel. Our family company started with my father and his sister and 2 brothers, and they each ran hotels in different parts of Iowa that my grandpa had purchased. And so we started a hotel management company, development company, and I grew up in the business, worked in kind of all parts of it. And we've grown today to be a full hotel development management company managing 130 properties throughout the Midwest. And really it's been a family business the whole way through, starting with, we call it Generation 1, my grandfather and grandmother. G2 is my father, his 2 brothers and his sister. Now G3 is myself and my 10 cousins and my brother and sister. And we're moving forward with a transition where we're leading the family business, Generation 3, going forward in the coming years. So pretty exciting arc of our family business. We've really been in the Coralville in the area the whole way through with our corporate operations. And it's been exciting to kind of grow with the city of Coralville the whole way through and learn a lot of stories and stuff we've learned along the way. But really exciting that our company came back to Coralville. Actually, we were in North Liberty for a lot of years out there on 965 when we came back to Coralville, kind of full circle just in the last couple of years with our corporate office in the Iowa River Landing area. So it's been quite the run, and we're pretty excited to keep being a major part of the Coralville community with our hotel company.
Awesome. Matt?
Yeah, hi, I'm Matt Swift, born and raised in Coralville, and I grew up on South Ridge Drive, really close to Ben. We've known each other forever. Actually, he was my neighbor when he was like 3 years old, like the house next door. So this whole table goes back 35 plus years. It's kind of wild when you say it out loud, so it's kind of fun to be up here right now. Our story, my family's story revolves around a restaurant called Sluggers, which was on the Coralville Strip, and my mom opened that restaurant in 1988. It was a very successful restaurant for many years, and that flooded in 2008, and right around that time is when we started expanding into other concepts. And that moment was a pretty pivotal one for my family, and that kind of springboarded 30 Hop, Big Grove, a lot of other concepts came out of that, and mainly focused on the hospitality restaurant space. We have a lot of different properties, a lot of different partners. My day-to-day job is running Big Grove Brewery, and I'm super pumped to see everybody tonight, so thanks for having me.
Sean?
I grew up on the big hill on 11th Avenue in Coralville, about 2 houses down from Kitty Corral Park. So if you can imagine living that close to the park, you spend a lot of time growing up at the park, and the biggest memories are the 5 o'clock whistle that went off at that dang park every 5 o'clock. So it's blaring loud, and then also you get, you know, the tornado siren when those hit, where it just goes on constantly.
You're the first one in the basement. That's you.
Yeah, that's where most all of us all go outside and check out what's going on. So I was fortunate to live there, you know, from when I was born until I was 18, and you know, really good memories just playing outside. It was very free outside. Went to Coralville Central Elementary with Mr. O'Leary as our principal, and you know, remember riding down the big hill on my bicycle, and there's a big ice storm. I remember just sliding down the hill, falling down, sliding the whole way, but still got there. So I've seen Coralville definitely change over the years and grow and continue to grow. You know, it's fun to hear all the new Coralville and the new Coralville as you move into them. So in 2016 is when my wife and I decided to start our business. And a really quick date back, as these guys were mentioning their businesses, I remember I spent some time working as the sales manager for Kinseth Hospitality at the Holiday in Hampton Inn. I spent some time as the general manager for Slugger's Restaurant at Mother. And I managed quality care for about 7 or 8 years before Nate owned it. So it's just funny, I've been a part of the businesses. And now my wife and I own Sustainable Landscape Solutions, and we are still working for these guys in different capacities, whether it's their home or their businesses, every single one, legitimately. So it's kind of funny how that's come full circle. So we started Sustainable Landscape Solutions in 2016. My wife and I just started Her and I was running around in the Saturn Ion, little 4-door 5-speed, throwing landscape seed and supplies in the back window. And you know, we started out down in Hills and moved up to the Iowa City area, so we're over by City Carton Recycling, the old City Carton Recycling, who remember that? So we serve the Coralville area, serve Iowa City, we get up to Cedar Rapids area. The business is truly a small business and feels like family. We have about 22 people. We do specialize in sustainable practices, so we love building rain gardens, bioretention cells, bioswales, permeable patios. We capture and infiltrate water, and our main goal is to help slow down water before it runs off into the streams and rivers. We plant thousands and thousands of native plantings, really intentionally managing water on the site and making it a long-term sustainable practice. So all traditional landscaping as well, but we're a good bridge to help homeowners who know they want to do right. They just don't know exactly what to do, and so we're a good bridge in the gap to help.
Awesome. We grew up in 505 6th Avenue, little house there on the not far from Coralville Central. A quick little walk to school each morning, which was great. And then when I was in about 5th grade, we moved over to 904 Holiday Lane. Up into, at that point in time, everything north of that area was a fun area to just kind of run around in, trees and wild turkey and deer. And of course now that's all grown into, you know, beautiful, great homes and everything there. So 2 different homes in Coralville. I had a great time growing up. My mom, Terry, worked for the city of Coralville for, almost 30 plus years, right? So we very much integrated into the community. A lot of great memories of coming to City Hall and the library here. And some of my first jobs were, you know, my mom would give me some different jobs with the city at different points in time. I coached tennis lessons, even though I didn't know a damn thing about tennis. And picked up beer cans and pop cans and lined fields down at Edgewater softball diamonds that are now the parking lot next to the Marriott. Geez, I'm trying to think what else. I also worked for Matt at Sluggers. It wasn't long until I got fired. I wasn't rolling silverware correctly or something. But that was more into college. But
a lot of stories there.
Yeah, it might have been high school. But my story got diverted. I played football here at the University of Iowa, and I'd spent 9 years out in San Diego in the NFL as a field goal kicker in my previous chapter of my life, and moved back here in 2013 with our family. Got my MBA from the University of Iowa because there's a lot of washed up professional athletes. You don't know what the heck you want to do next, so that gave me a good opportunity to kind of sharpen the toolkit a little bit and learn, and have gotten into community development, real estate development, have partnered with Matt on several businesses in Coralville and around with the Iowa Athletic Club and some restaurants downtown, Pullman and St. Birch, and we recently developed the site up in North Coralville, Barrett's, the bakery, and Club Pilates has just gone in there. So I'm on the board at Midwest One Bank, just enjoying being back and helping develop and grow the community. We hire Sean a lot for a lot of projects. We're working with Ben on a hotel project, so it's a lot of kind of things coming full circle, but it's been fun having lived and seen a different part of the country for almost 10 years to come back home and be a part of what we're trying to develop and grow back here in Coralville. 150 years into it, so it's a lot of fun. I want to go back just to kind of some of the childhood memories before we get into some of you all's story about your current business and growth ideas and initiatives. But we'll just throw this out for everybody. Do you have, because this is kind of a bit of a business theme to a certain extent, do you guys have favorite Coralville businesses from the 80s and 90s that you remember growing up and going to, or buying certain things from that aren't here anymore? Anything jump to mind, or any stories around those sort of businesses that you interacted with as a kid?
Yeah, so the D&B Dairy Bar is a good place I remember, for those that remember down in the corner.
Don't take them all.
I stole yours?
Don't take them all.
I got 10 of them. You guys
get one. You get
one or two per guy.
Don't start stealing.
Our memory banks probably overlap quite a bit.
Yeah. And I worked with Luke Schneblin, Patty's, his mother's here. We worked at the Dairy Bar, and man, that thing would get busy. Whew.
It's a good spot.
Yeah, really good memories.
And that's on the site of where West Bank currently sits.
Yes.
Right on the corner there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Heck of a putt-putt course.
Great little 18-hole putt-putt course in the back. You can win a free Sunday if you knock it in the hole on the cherry at the top of the ramp there.
Big deal.
Plays a little tune. Oh, man.
Coral Lanes jumps out at me. We used to bowl at Coral Lanes on First Avenue there. All of us did, and learned how to bowl there, and we did leagues and spent a ton of time in that place. That was a lot of fun.
You got good.
You were the best.
Throwing 200 games.
Yeah.
The movie theater sticks out. You took my other one too, but the movie theater that's now torn down, the Coral 4, was it called? Coral 4? Yeah. Going to movies there, that was a great spot to go catch a movie.
And that's on the side of New Pioneer Co-op now.
Yep.
Right? That's where the movie theater was at.
Yep. Remember going to many a movie with you guys there. Home Alone.
You remember some of the, Home Alone, and trying to think what else would air.
We went to a lot of movies growing up. Yeah. I did have one Nate story, just kind of was a foreshadowing.
Here we go.
My first sleepover, or one of my first, was at Nate's house over by Coralville Central. And it was really, you get excited, your first sleepover, we're going to stay up late, it's going to be a great time, get over there, and to give a little foreshadowing to Nate's focus and drive, and that, I think he wanted to go to bed at 8 p.m. to get up to do sports in the morning and stuff like that. So that was, as my kids were going to their first sleepover, that kind of struck me as a good story, that foreshadowing Nate's drive there a little bit.
Yeah, on the movie theme, I mean, when we were growing up, you went to there wasn't Netflix. You push a couple buttons on the remote and your movie pops up, or Apple TV or something. So we would always, jump in the car or your bike and go down to That's for Entertainment, which is right on the Coralville Strip and some of those places. And you wouldn't know if the movie's in, right? Because they would only have 5 or 6 copies of the VHS cassette, so they'd have the little plastic placard that's sitting on a hook on the shelf, and you'd hurry up to get Ace Ventura or whatever movie you really wanted. But your heart would be broken if you went there and it was sold out. You'd have to you go check the counter to see if someone had just returned one, to see if it had shown back up. So those movie rental places were always fun.
You could rent a VCR. That was the
rent a VCR with it, or a Nintendo or something along those lines. Duck Hunter. Yeah, a few others for us is kind of being close to that area at 6th Avenue, Coralville Central. We would always ride our bikes to the Little Red Barn, and this kind of goes back to kind of on the site where the Burger King is at now. We get the little candies, and we're probably really dating ourselves when we talk about the price.
It was slap bracelets.
Slap bracelets, and
those things were dangerous.
That's a big deal.
Cinnamon toothpicks, and candy cigarettes and a lot of that stuff you can't get these days for whatever reason. The McDonald's had the old wooden Ronald McDonald.
Yeah, really scary.
The sculpture on the on the old tree. That was a fun one.
And it was the retro McDonald's inside.
What rings true to me is just how free it was. Like how free we were as kids in Coralville, and we rode our bikes everywhere. We would go everywhere. We would hang out anywhere, and our parents trusted us so much, and we would just get home when you get home, and it was a pretty magical time.
We'd ride bikes all the way down from that Lane Crest or South Ridge, drive all the way to the dairy bar, all the way in and around there, and it was a lot of freedom. Yeah.
My kids are here now. I don't know if I'd let them do all that. But it was a free time, and I remember we rode our bikes to school. We rode everywhere. Every day I'd be at Pearl's house or anybody's house. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, those summers, some of the best summers.
Yeah. I know a big part of all lives were Coralville Central, and growing up there, and a lot of fond memories of some of those old names, whether Mr. Quaig or Mrs. Crawley or Mr. Maskell or
Mrs. Rice.
What was the name of that thing in the breezeway, Mr.
Vivarium.
What is it?
Vivarium.
Okay, that's probably why I barely passed science, but it's. But that was a great experience, coming up to Coralville Central. I thought maybe you guys had a couple stories to share about that, and then maybe we could bring Mr. O'Leary up for a few minutes if you could tell a few stories about how these guys showed up in your principal's office, and I was a perfect student. But.
Just a great school system. I think that's one highlight of growing up, as we grew up in a great school system with a great mix of, enough diversity and a lot of great teachers. I think Mr. Maskell even posted on Facebook, it was a golden age, and I think it really was great growing up and going to Coralville Central. I had a lot of great teachers. I remember Miss Grigsby, another name, that's what I had in third grade, probably one of the first teachers I had that kind of pushed me, to get moving in school. It was a little slower to start, and it was a great process, going to Coralville Central, then Northwest Junior High. But just a phenomenal school system. Trying to think of great stories there. We had a great time at recess, all of us guys, even back then, hanging out. We hang out now, we hung out back then, and we'd play soccer and
There's
football.
a lot of mean
kickball
games.
Yeah, kickball.
Yeah, that went down.
Yeah, I think the Coralville Central environment was phenomenal. As a student, as a parent, I'm sure my parents loved it. I don't know. It felt welcoming. It felt like you're in the heart of Coralville. I always felt like you're in the center when you were there. I don't know if that's something I realize now or I realized as a child. But I loved it. I was excited about school. I thought that we were surrounded by the right people, and it felt like everybody was a family at Coralville Central. I really truly believe that. It was a special place.
Yeah.
You're sitting next to four of my best friends right now, and it's real life. We all stuck together for this long.
Mr. O'Leary, do you want to come up? And I know you brought some show and tell, so hopefully it's not negative reports from a principal's office visit. But
That's actually my goal.
No.
I retired quite a few years ago, so.
How many years were you principal at Coralville Central?
Just 21.
Just 21.
Just 21.
Okay. Hence the gray hair and the gray beard.
Yeah, well, I dye that to get the senior discount at the restaurant. But as you get older, your memory fades and that, and so I did some digging. And one of the things, as being a principal, you're the disciplinarian. You're the law at the school, and I keep all these 3-ring notebooks. I don't know why, but I have all the discipline reports from 1987 to 2008. Okay, and I went through the last couple nights. I couldn't find even one on any of these guys. So I'm done. Well, actually, I got a few things. But this is their first year memory book at Coralville Central, 1987. And it was my first year as principal, too. So it was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Just pass that around. I would like to get that back.
Your first year was our first year.
Yeah, my first year. So what we did, we had a tradition. Kindergarten would go out on the blacktop first day, and Ms. Rice and Mrs. Ferguson were out there, and we had AM and PM kindergarten. This was a concept the Iowa City Schools did, to make things run a little smoother for them, it was very, very, very hard on the teachers, because they would work from 8 in the morning until 11:05, and then send the kids off, and then the other group, the second wave would come in. And after school, they were like collapsed. And that went on for quite a few years. My own son, Kevin, went through that, and I just remember 11:05, the morning group got dismissed, and that was just part of it. But so I wrote some things down just to kind of keep my memory straight on this. In 87, 88, we had both AM and PM kindergarten, Linda Ferguson and Linda Rice. You had to be 5 by September 15th of 87. So these gentlemen were born somewhere around 1981. 82?
Yep.
82. And let's see, they're about 41 years old now, something like that. At that time, very popular was Michael Jackson's Thriller. It was released, and Ronald Reagan became president. Sony sold the first compact disc player for only $674, and a CD, a lone CD, was $15. In 87, Coralville Central, I was new principal, we were supposed to have 295 students. Well, the first day of school, we had 350. So we had a little bit of a problem, and a young lady, Cheryl Oliver, now Cheryl Jensen, was hired as a 6th grade teacher. What happened with Coralville Central, prior to my time, it had huge diversity from all over the university community. And so they had Hawkeye Drive, Hawkeye Court, Pheasant Ridge, a huge area to draw from. And the federal government actually went into the district and said, you have to change the boundaries. And so Kirkwood was getting students north of the interstate. And prior to 87, the district flipped boundaries over. And so Coralville Central's attendance area was everything north of the interstate, which wasn't built up too much on Holiday Road at that time, but it was there. And then it went down the Iowa River, included Finkbine Golf Course, included Pheasant Ridge to the south, and then went up to Walnut Ridge and back up into Coralville. And it had Hawkeye Court and Hawkeye Drive in that for many, many years until the district changed some boundaries. So some kids grew up a block or two away, and some of them were bused. The school grew to 497 students at one time, and that was the year the district decided, and I think this was after these guys, they decided to send all the 6th graders from Roosevelt to Central, and so we had 6 6th grade classrooms. The school has a very rich history of ethnic diversity, around 35%, free and reduced at 35 to 50%, and mobility of 35%, meaning a third of the kids would move out at the end of any one year, and you'd have a whole new mix of kids, which made it a really neat place to go. Central was one of the first schools to have a counselor, an elementary counselor, one of the first ones to have a family resource center worker also, and had a history of a very, very strong PTO, with the P being parents in that organization. They put on an annual fun fair that was just
fun fair.
That's great. And we had, on all floors, we had all kinds of things going on. We had a huge club for a run for the schools, and every fall we would have groups of kids and kickers, soccer, so all the soccer fields were used. And then every spring we'd have a big Arbor Day assembly, and we would plant trees. This 6th grade class, thanks to one of the parents here, decided we should do something unique. We should have an overnight. So we went to Camp Wapsie.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the 6th grade teachers and I, we stayed up all night. We had some kids that weren't used to being out like that, and we actually had some that left. Well, none of these guys. None of these guys. But that was the first and last time we ever did that. Where we decided that the school has a history of having an excellent faculty and staff. Some of them worked there for more than 30 years, and that kind of gives them the foundation to their education by having these people there, whether they were the cook, custodian, the bus driver. I don't know if any of you had Dan Shannon, but he was very dedicated, and we just had an excellent faculty, and because of that, the kids grew, and they just did an outstanding job. So, just a couple things I recall. When I got my first teaching job, it was in Decorah, and I had to find some place to live, and so I rented a room at the Cliff House. Okay, and that's his grandpa. And fortunately, I made it there okay, and got my first teaching job under my belt in that. And then I remember the overnight, and that was quite an experience with Coralville Central. We recently had an opportunity to plant some trees again, which was great. And then I had another story. I don't know if I should share this, or I probably shouldn't share this. Well, yeah, I think I'll share it. I had a tendency to work at the school from 7:30 in the morning until 5:30 at night. I would go home and have dinner, and then I would come back to the school at 8 o'clock, and I would usually work till midnight, catching up on my emails and things like that. One night I walked out in the west parking lot, and here was this young man with a young lady, and it was one of these guys showing his girlfriend his elementary school. It was only midnight. It wasn't that, but he introduced me to his friend, and I just went on about my business and that. But you don't have kids that embrace their school and love it so much that they bring their friends back and show them, even at midnight. It's quite a deal. So anyway, yeah. In closing, it was a great time. It was a wonderful time. Again, a very, very strong PTO, and because of that, many, many things happened, along with the excellent faculty and staff. I did do a little digging here. I was able, now these got a little distorted here.
There you go, tape them in front.
Yeah, but I believe these are your kindergarten pictures.
The glasses. I remember the glasses.
If you want, thank you.
Such thick glasses. God.
Thank you.
I'll do it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, and then
Who gave me this hairstyle?
what I did also, I went through, I made you a copy of the yearbook, and then I copied some other pages with the permission of Light Touch. No violations here, but your various years, various grades, your photo should be in there for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So enjoy that too, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So
That's amazing.
Thank you.
a lot of fun.
Larry.
Oh yeah, a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
So fun.
Thank you for not going too deep on more of the stories there, but
Top that.
How many of you guys did safety patrol? Do you see the
Yeah, a lot of us.
band?
yeah, you had to get out and do the crosswalk, and
That's
that was awesome. Thank you, Principal O'Leary. Yeah, that was great. And then once we graduated out beyond those walls, we moved on to, of course, to be Northwest Vikings and Iowa City West High Trojans. You guys have to share anything about your formative years there and your early teens and up through high school? You all played sports and...
Yeah, I remember being the smallest football player on the 7th grade and 8th grade team.
Yeah, we had the A and B teams back then.
There was, yeah.
They did it by weight, which was great. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You guys were wrestlers though, right? I mean...
Yeah, we were all on the wrestling team together and wrestled in junior high and high school together. A lot of memories. There's so many memories, it's hard to pull appropriate ones out. But a lot of transversing from Coralville over, to Northwest and later West times we'd even run to school, go lift weights at school, competing. I think that was a theme that ran through for all of us. We all loved to compete, but work hard, play hard kind of mentality that proliferated. Probably the area, a lot of people, just with the college nearby, having the Hawkeyes so close, and tailgating all the, at times, and just a lot of work hard, play hard mentality. So as a group, we all had a lot of fun together, just playing hard, and then, competing. I think we all like to get together, and whether we knew it or not, even now, we like to, compete and have a serious side, but a fun side, and kind of enjoy both parts of how life works with that. So there's a lot of memories with seeing Nate compete.
What year was the Coral Ridge Mall opened?
The mall was a big
that was a big part of
inflection point. Yeah, we had Bennington's in the mall.
98.
Was it 98? Yeah.
July 28th, 1998.
Nice.
Nothing better, right in your prime, your high school years, to have the mall open. That was a good, fun thing to happen.
There was a lot of mall walking, tons of just checking out the mall, and there was a good, was it the Buckle or something? There's a competition. You'd have to try to get to the back wall before somebody would approach you and stop you to sell something. So you go in there with multiple people at the same time, try to spread out.
That was a big deal. That really shifted the landscape of Coralville at the time, from a retail perspective. A lot of that development has kind of grown up from there, yeah.
Yeah, our family business, we had Bennington's in the mall. If maybe some of you went there, I worked there, and my first job ever was a fry cook. Well, I had other jobs before that at Hungry Hobo and some other but my first company job with our family business was a fry cook. And Bennington's, it was the busiest opening of a Bennington's ever. At that time, there were 300 Bennington's across the country. And the mall was just packed when it opened. And I remember being back there as a fry cook and all these tickets coming through for all the food. And it was just
what the heck did you get yourself into?
Experience, working in the restaurant. That was one of my favorite things I ever did, was working in a restaurant. And I know Matt and all these guys enjoyed it. So I loved waiting tables, seeing all the people come in. It was a lot of fun, a lot of camaraderie with working with people. So that was a great, I think, next step as we all probably got a little older, working in the businesses in the area was a great natural step.
Yeah. Matt, why don't you share a little bit more about Sluggers? I mean, that's such an important part of Coralville's history, and your mom being, a great female business owner and entrepreneur, and I'm sure right around your high school years you got into working there. And for those that don't know, Sluggers is at the spot where currently Monica's is at, and then Matt and his mom, once the flood of 2008 happened, they moved and focused their energy at Red's, and that kind of really spurred Matt's his restaurant career from there. But Sluggers, for all of us growing up, and for Coralville, was the place to be for 20 some odd years.
Yeah, I mean, my mom, I think, was a little bit ahead of her time. I think she was, fairly courageous businesswoman. I mean, it was, Keith, you're part of that journey at Hills Bank, and it, she made a big move. I mean, she put a big red restaurant on Coralville Strip, and it was the first restaurant that featured all the TVs. Think about that, think about a restaurant without TVs, and it's like that was a thing back then. And she did that, and it became a really happening sports bar and grill, and it was a neighborhood feel, and she always kind of wanted to be on the forefront of what she was doing. But really, I think what Sluggers did was kind of create a foundation for the teams and the people that worked there, and then our ended up being our friends and our families. And to this day, my closest friends have all come from Sluggers. So it's a pretty special thing in my history, all of our history. I mean, you think about all the people that we still hang out with. I mean, literally they worked there, or they were their regular customers. And that business was pretty successful, and it grew over time, and the mall opened. It slowed down a little bit, started to pick back up, and then in 2008 the flood happened. And that flood was a pretty monumental moment for my family. I mean, 93, the water came up, was about 5 feet from the back door. If you're not familiar with the floods, 93 was massive, then 08 was massive. And in 08, it just took out the whole Coralville Strip. And then, not to go on the sad side of it, but we got in a little dispute with our landlord. We couldn't work it out. And my mom was like, I'm just done. I'm done doing this. I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much stress. She had started selling real estate. She was excited about that. And then she kind of planted to see. I was like, hey, Mom, you never know. Just fill out the FEMA paperwork. You never know what happens. And so she does that. Fills out the paperwork. And gets approved for a loan, low interest loan back then, which was like 3.75%. So remember that was low interest back then. And it was a good deal. And so we ended up kind of sitting, and then that jumped into Reds, and then Reds kind of sprung the rest of the concepts came out of Reds. But it was a really interesting thing. And then that business though, Sluggers itself, was the foundation of all of the hospitality, all of the restaurants, all the food has some tie back to Sluggers. So yeah,
What are some of the favorite dishes of the local Coralville folks at Sluggers?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I guess you guys might be able to tell you something.
Charbroiled chicken salad.
Charbroiled chicken salad. Still getting high fives.
That's good.
It's this sauteed chicken salad is unbelievable. But long story short, that was a big one. It was, you know, kind of like just bar and grill food, but elevated. So burger and fries is the best burger and fries. The chicken sandwiches were really popular.
Enchilada there that I like that kind of snuck its way on the menu.
I was going to say enchilada.
Enchilada.
Yeah.
My wife liked the chicken quesadilla.
Soft serve ice cream, right?
Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Yeah, but a lot of the memories were just basically, that's where all the major friendships were formed in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, Sluggers made a really big move too, Faded, of being the first non-smoking, one of the first.
I was gonna say that.
At a really leading forefront.
Yeah, it disappointed a lot of people back then. And you think about now, and it's like, it's pretty common. It'd be weird to go to a restaurant where they're smoking, but yeah, she did that, and it was kind of a line in the sand. And
How many years was Sluggers open?
20.
20.
Yeah.
Then she renovated it, like with the baseball player up there in the.
Yeah, it was about halfway through,
Halfway.
somewhere in the 90s. Yeah.
Where's the baseball player today?
Well, Coralville had the baseball player.
Across the street at the scrapyard.
It might be. Yeah. We don't know where the baseball player is, but I was hoping maybe it'd be the softball diamond one day. We'll see. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Sean, where do you trace your love of the outdoors? And you've spent a lot of time in the green industry, like you said, with Quality Care, now with your own company. Do you trace that back, you know, as a kid growing up, or in the high school, or at Coralville Central, or where'd that landscaping, the love of the outdoors, and the work that you do now?
Yeah, well, I like to say my wife made me do it, you know.
Sounds about right.
But really, you know, I think about like growing up in Coralville, what I remember is like landmarks or places, and then people as part of it. And so landmarks, I remember like, you know, Edgewater. We would go down there. My dad played softball there all the time. And so we'd go play and chase the bullfrogs in the big old pond around there too. World's biggest bullfrogs in that pond too. Just being free and able to ride our bikes around, you know, riding the bike right by 12th Ave where, you know, the old McCabe farm was, and the horses just follow you right along. You know, that was much before development big started happening to the north. So, you know, I didn't realize the appreciation for nature as much at the time. You just don't think about it, and you don't realize how much things grow. And now today, you know, I get to see season over season, and so many things happen in a season. You don't get to connect things from what's happening on August 10th, you know, next year. But now I get to know what's blooming, when it's going to bloom, and why, you know, certain trees and plants react the way they do, why a prairie looks the way it does, and then how nature interacts with those. And it's truly a beautiful thing. It's like just being so lucky to fall into that type of business, you know, and make an impact on other people's lives, but make an impact on the environment too. So being outdoors was being able to just ride the bike wherever we wanted, and it just was a really safe space. Coralville was. There was activities always to do, you know, between 4th of July, the parade, just outdoor events.
Rec Center was a big hotspot.
The rec center. So today, getting outdoors, you know, the really cool part is being able to take my family or my daughters outdoors. It's you know, I can't tell you how many times in a given week we get asked if we're going to the outdoor pool, if we're going to go to the pool. I mean,
the pool had grown quite a bit since when we
spent
a lot of time there, but there were no slides. There might have been
no big
one or
toilet
two diving
bowl,
boards, but yeah.
You know, before. So really cool. You know, this last summer, I went with Amelia, my 8-year-old, to go shoot hoops at Coralville Central, you know, at the basket. So I remember doing that when I was young too. So being able to connect those things, having an outdoor family helps too, that they're cool with getting out in nature. Yeah, some of my best memories.
Yeah. And then once you get through the school system here, and we all moved on, and university in Iowa, what was it about here that either kept you guys here professionally or brought you back? Speak a bit about
transitioning a little bit into the business world, what was it specifically about this market that was attractive to you guys, or has been a help to you as you've established the businesses or taken it on from the next generations here in the Coralville, Iowa City area?
Well, I think it's, one theme I see it's a good place to kind of reinvent your strategy of what you're doing, or take the good things you were doing and maybe renewal, and restart. So that's kind of what I see as a theme here. I know for us that was the case. Our first, the Westfield Inn was torn down. We had sold it, and then have since, restarted into different hotels that were newer and the next age of things. That's kind of Coralville's story too, is keep renewing, reinventing yourself for the new age and taking the best of what you did before and bringing it to the next step. And that's definitely what we did. We the Hampton Inn and Ironman Inn, we bought the Ironman Inn somewhere back in there, I think it was like 2000 or 99. And a company in Wisconsin had bought that hotel, and they weren't doing very well, so we bought it and changed the Clarion out and put Holiday Inn in, which was a pretty good brand at the time to throw in there, and did a lot better than the Clarion did. So we kind of breathed new life into that hotel. The Hampton Inn was somewhat new back then at that point. That was a great turning point for our company to get that property going, and ended up doing very, very well for a lot of years. Now it's kind of one of those older properties, but that was a great step. And then since then we reinvested in the area, because college communities are a great place to invest.
And Coralville has a long history of being a hotel hospitality town. Yeah.
I remember back in the day when the Abbey burned down. I don't think people remember the Abbey Hotel over there, and we all went out there and watched it burn down.
You specifically?
Well, it was a huge crowd of people, yeah. But I remember the Blue Top Motel. There were a lot of hotels, and they turn over as time goes. They get a little older, and some get torn down like ours did. And then you have a lot of new ones have come in, and that was kind of the case for us. We developed the Staybridge Suites over here, of course, about the arena, and we did the Hilton Garden Inn and Element downtown. So it was a great spot for our company, our portfolio, to kind of reinvest, and that's what's kept us here. Is it's a good spot to also draw talent in. I think the diversity that Larry was mentioning, there's a lot of diversity, a lot of talent in this area, and it's a good spot to be an employer and create relationships. There's a lot of good people coming through. It does turn over a lot because it's a college population, but I think that's what, at Coralville, it's a great spot to reinvent yourself and keep investing. So.
Yeah, there's a reason this community's on the list, right? It's always on the list, and it's always in the top 10, 15 places in America to live. It has everything. It makes you want to be here. I guess to maybe articulate that a little bit, there's football, which is amazing. Best tailgates, best football in town. We have something going on every weekend, every week. The vibrancy that's happening, the river, the way it all works together, it just makes you want to be here. And I think that when we put our foundation down for our businesses in Coralville, Iowa City, I couldn't see a reason why it would be interrupted. And don't want to be naive, don't want to be blind to those things, but this town is fueled with so much energy being people, the university, Coralville, and the way that all is synergistic. It's all connected, and our businesses are successful because this community wants them to be successful. There's a lot of communities that maybe don't care. This community cares a lot, and we're very fortunate to work, live, and play here. I think I've been traveling all over the country. I never lived anywhere else, but I've traveled most places. And they're amazing, but I never felt like I'm not living in the right spot. And it's a pretty unique thing and something I'm very proud of. And I know that this community is just, I don't know where it's at its arc, is it here, is it here, is it here? I don't know. I think it's somewhere down here, and it's just going to keep getting better. So it's exciting.
Sean, do you have a hallmark, one or two projects that you guys have done, sustainable landscape solutions in the Coralville area that really stand out, or that folks that are watching can go check out today? That's Sean's development there.
Yeah, so many amazing projects that, big projects. We do a lot of water quality type projects. So when you see the infrastructure go in, like on 965 when it turned into Coral Ridge Ave, we were doing all the bioretention cells on the side that capture all the water. That's big DOT projects. You know, building huge bioretention cells even out at the US Foods when they're doing a big parking lot revamp. Next to Monica's, there's a bioretention cell that splits, what's next to it? Monica's and Copyworks. Yeah. Yeah, and that was part of the flood wall. So you think of the flood wall, and you know, Coralville experienced a disaster in '08 and has rebuilt better and put in flood mitigation. And you know, it's just been amazing to see the progress has happened, because when, you know, 35 years ago, 40 years ago, when you're talking about, you know, the fields down by Edgewater that all need to be remediated, and you know, just tough businesses down there, and you think about, you can go different directions in the path. You can kind of stay the status quo, or you can really take some big risks, and that's what I think a lot of our city administration did, is like take the risk and make Coralville great. And you know, it just continues to get better and better. So other projects, you know, we're fortunate to work on Big Grove Brewery. Looks beautiful and huge and is a flood full of people. You know, the new bluffs up by, the golf course, Brown Deer. You know, we did all the landscape up there, and you see a huge retaining wall up there. We built that. You know, there's countless projects that we get to build, and being able to make an impact and being able to just see the projects come to life and be a part of the community now, just by what we build, is a really special, connected feeling. I forgot First Avenue, when that got done the whole way. We did all the streetscape that you see now in front of the old McDonald's with the huge wooden, you know, statue. So that feels really, really special to me. And I think about what was the draw to start a business or do a business in Coralville, and I think for me it's a lot of, it's feeling confident that you have really great people and relationships that will support you. You know, talking to friends that are in business, but also talking to, like Matt said, the city, they want you to be successful and want to help you, and they'll give you, you know, the right direction. So just some of those things were extremely helpful in feeling comfortable starting a business and knowing that relationships really, really, truly matter.
Yeah, I might piggyback on that for a second. The leadership of Coralville, too, with Kelly Hayworth and the team and the city council. How many towns in this state of Iowa or even in the nation have been affected by a flood and are still trying to figure out how to do a flood wall? You know, you go to Coralville, it's done. You know, like they take care of it. They're protecting the businesses, protecting the homes. It's a big deal. I mean, to recover for something like that and then see the development that's taken place after that, it's pretty impressive. I mean, all that stuff that's down there in River Landing was post that flood. Yeah.
We've got about 15 minutes. I want to open it up to a few questions from the folks that are here. But before we dive into that, I want to talk a bit about the future of Coralville. And if you guys are all in the primes of your professional careers with some runway ahead of you. And if we might be sitting here for the 175th anniversary 25 years from now, what's one or two things that's on you all's plate in terms of building the community that you want to raise your family in, or little kids that are going to be, you know, in our shoes 25 years from now? What's your vision for the area, for Coralville, and what are you trying to move the needle on?
Well, I know the action's moving somewhat a little bit right now by the hospital. Obviously, that's kind of always demographically. They said that'll be kind of one of the center points of the whole MSA, this metro statistical area, over by the hospital. So you guys put Barrett's. I'm sure that'll continue to pop, so to say, in real estate terms as far as development. That's where a lot of action's going to be. You know, when we do a hotel out there, that's kind of a hot topic. I don't know if we or somebody else will do one, but I think hotel supply-wise, you're probably going to see some of the older hotels inevitably maybe switch to a use or get torn down. You'll continue to see new investment in hospitality assets in Coralville and around Coralville. I would think out by the hospital or the 380, you'll see a hotel at some point, maybe next 5 years or 10. I think you'll see us, we're looking at redevelopment options and hotel parcels the market got a little overbuilt for hotels. Like a lot of places, a lot of college markets have seen a proliferation of investment in apartments, hotels, everything the last 10 years with kind of the money supply and interest rates. Probably look for a slowdown in that ability to do new stuff, so you'll probably see some good investment in older properties like our Radisson over here. You'll see us probably making a big investment in that property to rejuvenate it. Probably not quite tear down time, probably breathe some new life into the old Ironman Inn one more time is probably our strategy over there. So so we're looking at some brands over there to change the brand from Radisson to a kind of a different brand. But pretty exciting. I think the market's absorbing the new supply like you expect. It's like a lot of you can rely on Coralville to be a great spot. It's not going to be, it's a lot of like the Midwest, right? It's not going to be crazy like maybe the East and West Coast. We're going to see some fluctuations. We might hit a recession here, but there's going to be some great growth, and you already see it with a new hospital and a lot of companies, a lot of excitement. I think as Tom Seelig says, it's always, spring's going to come and it's going to be a great community, and we feel pretty confident in the economics here. So,
Nice.
Matt, Sean, quick, any comments on your vision for the future here?
Yeah, I'll be quick. I mean, we have the 4 properties right now. We have Tribute, Iowa Athletic Club, 30 Hop, and we just opened Barrett's up on the where Ben's describing by the hospital out there. You know, for us, when we do new restaurant projects, new hospitality projects, we're trying to focus on community impact. You know, obviously, we want it to be a great investment. Who doesn't? But you know, where's it going to matter? Where's it going to matter to the neighborhood? Where's it going to make that? You know, where's it going to be hopefully community defining on some level? So as those projects pop up, I don't think we'll be shy to do them, but you know, it's got to be the right fit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sustainable landscape, or just personally, I see Coralville moving and continuously moving towards on a large scale nature focus. You know, the new west land use that's working on past Tyson's, west and northwest of Tyson's. As you get out of town, there's a huge timber stand that's getting improved out there, and Coralville is kind of landlocked on some of their park areas or native areas, nature type areas. So it's hard to grow new space like that. So I feel like the west land uses that's happening with really nice forest out there. And personally, I feel like we can really impact just the urban area by helping and teaching people to plant natives and grow and make their landscape functional and use-worthy. And by doing that, you can just teach the children, teach the young, get them involved early in understanding pollinators and planting and managing water and using our resources.
Yeah.
So
That dovetails that a little bit. I mean, we've hit on it to a certain extent, but I think one of the great assets of Coralville is the public spaces and the parks. And it was a big part of our childhood growing up, was whether it be St. Morrison Park, but I think that's been really an amazing story the last 20, 30 years for the city, was just the reinvestment, whether it's bike trails or, nature areas, public parks, new pools, all of those sort of things, rec fields, and the city has really prioritized that. And I think going forward that, it's such a family-friendly place here in the community, the more that continued reinvestment is going to make the community that much more attractive for folks too. So I think that's a big part of the essence of what Coralville's been able to do.
Yep.
Yeah. We do have about 10 minutes if there's any questions from folks in the audience here.
I have one.
Okay.
Kind of twofold. Go back to your elementary days, and by the time you were ready to go into junior high, even though there were 2 elementary schools in Coralville, Central and Kirkwood, and Mr. O'Leary was good friends with the principal at Kirkwood also, but it seems like you guys even though you were at different schools, there's an awful lot of people, and you referred to Luke Schmedlin also, that you molded together by the time you went to junior high. How did those connections begin? How did you start to meet the other kids? Was it running through the streets of Coralville or whatever?
And that rec center was a big, Coralville had a really nice rec center. That pool they had on, I think, when was that pool added on? That was a big, you'd see people at
The indoor pool.
Yeah, the indoor pool, swimming lessons, Little League. But at the rec center, just in that big gym, we'd all meet a lot. I think when we were really little, and that's where we met a lot of.
Party after prom was there.
Yeah, yeah.
It was, I mean, everybody, I think most people in the street, maybe my kids don't remember, there's no phones. I mean, like, we just knew each other. I don't know, like, it wasn't so segmented. I think I get it today maybe with just, you know, it's like this, but it was like this, you know, and we were hanging out, and, you know, I don't know, I just never was weird. It was just normal.
And I know you signed up, like, we signed you up, like, for Little League or whatever you played, and you just were put on with whoever's there, and then, you know, soccer or whatever.
Kickers, yeah, certainly kickers was, I think, a very common spot we hung out.
Yeah, kickers is huge. That's a great legacy in the area. You know, the Coralville rec department always had something going on, whether it be rag ball or
Babe Ruth baseball.
Babe Ruth baseball, and that old diamond down, which is still there. So.
And now might be the time. Do you guys have any great stories to tell about Mr. O'Leary?
He's heading for the exits. There he goes.
I just remember when he was talking about having a discipline. I do remember he had a great job talking up there about all the things he had. I remember one time just walking by, and I wasn't getting disciplined. Thank goodness. There was a kid that had to be 6 feet tall in his office. It was not good intention. I remember that. And I remember his name was Caleb. I don't remember a Caleb. I remember. Oh, yeah. And he was a big kid, and he was not doing too good that day.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about, you know, go ahead.
Well, in junior high, I started a program called wrestling. And so I continued that on through high school, and then I was supposed to wrestle in college, but I decided not to. But you kind of just learn some skills, and, you know, you can still do an arm bar or something. Or whatever.
Yeah, that's good. We've talked a lot about the business and the, you know, the places we went and those sort of things. But, you know, you think about a community like a Coralville, it really, and I'm not, you know, buttering up to my old principal here, but you do think about growing up in the Coralville community, it really was about the people, and you do really feel very fortunate about the people that were there, and you hear about your principal that would come back at midnight, and, you know, I was lucky enough to play football for Reese Morgan at West High, just the amount of time, and Dan Dvorak, and all those guys, and you know, whether it's your Little League coach or those sort of people, I mean, it is the people that really make the community a special place. And when I think back to the childhood, you think of your teachers and your principals and your coaches and those sort of folks. So I think that's really a testament to what made the community great too.
Absolutely.
I can tell a story about when we did get in trouble. My friend Matt was trying to call in he was impersonating my father, who's in the crowd.
Sorry, Jim. I'm sorry.
Trying to call in and excuse us from school, but I was calling in first to impersonate Matt's father. And I felt like I pulled it off really, really well.
I did not do a good job.
And Matt came up with the next one, and we were had in like no time. So we were trying to turn in a 3-day weekend. It was a holiday or something, turn it into a 4-day weekend. And instead we spent the weekend cleaning lockers in school for getting in trouble.
I just knew I wasn't good at getting in trouble. Like, I wasn't good at being a troublemaker because I was so bad at calling in school.
I mean, you don't think about it much, but it's just growing up. I mean, these things are so prevalent, and growing up in an era where you didn't have them. You looking back, you feel blessed not to be connected to them.
When you talk about electronics, the kids played a game in the park with a flashlight. And so we didn't have to worry about them until the flashlights came on, and then someone, Bill Weber or someone like that, had an idea where they were.
A lot of those games, little schoolyard games or night to kick the can, and spotlight goes to the grid.
Well, it seems so romantic, but that's how it was. I mean, I don't remember our parents ever saying, "Hey." They were never worried about us, and it was a beautiful thing.
Well, Luke didn't have to go across the street to school until he went to West.
Yeah, he was right.
Where we lived.
Yeah, across Secret Northwest. Yeah.
It was easy. So.
Yeah. It was something about it was more quiet too. You know, I can remember getting called in for dinner was my mom's really loud whistle. Yeah. You know, saying to come in for dinner, and it was, you know, whether we were really far away, and it was just like, I don't know, less noise drowning things out.
I still owe for a lot of food over there.
Yeah.
I don't like your food.
We have time for
some restaurants.
One more question, if anybody's got something on their mind.
I have just a statement. Our current mayor was at a city conference maybe 4 or 5 years ago. She went to one seminar where she learned that if you want to have a successful community, you need 2 things: a bike trail and a brewery. So kudos, big road. But honestly, Isn't our future in good hands? Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
Well, it's been fun to come back and take a little walk down memory lane or bicycle ride down memory lane or whatever. But it's been a lot of fun. And again, happy birthday to the city of Coralville, 150 years, and we look forward to being a part of the next few chapters to come here. So thank you all for coming.
Thanks for coming.